Thursday, March 26th, and you're watching the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. Folks, the NCAA Frozen Four tournament is upon us. We're going to dissect it all, talk about which teams are favorites, and look at the dates, because that's also very important for certain fans of NHL teams. Afterwards, we're going to talk about some NHL debuts for top prospects, and one top prospect in particular who had a bit of a confusing situation with his NHL team. We have a great mailbag question in the queue and so much more in between. It all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
Producer Shayne here, joined as always by my co-host Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, first and foremost, where are you today?
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
How about that? Okay, let's dive into that first. Explain to the people why you're there and how long you'll be there and what you're doing there.
Well, I've been here since Tuesday morning, and I'm going back home tomorrow night because it's USA Hockey National Championship weekend. Mm-hmm. And basically you have every year they gather all the best high school teams together from different age groups. And obviously I'm scouting the players who are like 15 and 16 years old for the QMJHL.
Yeah.
And basically it's a marathon of games. I attend 4 games a day. So around, lunchtime until late evening. And what's interesting in Green Bay is that, as you know, the Packers play there. And I was always told that it was such a tiny place for an NFL team. And, you believe it, but you're thinking, come on. I mean, they have an NFL team.
It's got to be.
Which is, which has become $1 billion business. So basically, I drove around and I see Lambeau Field. And I realized, Lambeau Field, basically, there's a big boulevard, big commercial boulevard, and that's about all there is in Green Bay, one big commercial boulevard. And right behind, there are houses, and at the end of a dead end, there's the stadium. So basically, whoever has season tickets and lives on that street, it's a stone's throw away from their house.
Wow.
I don't know how the heck this was done because the stadium was built in 1957. The houses that I saw looked like they have been built a little bit afterwards. Mm. I don't know what they were thinking. But, one thing that's important to know is that at the time, the NFL was not what it is today. College football was the big thing in the U.S. It was more important than the NFL. And the NFL throughout the 60s and 70s and 80s and has grown as to be the monster that it is now. But back in the day, it was not. So obviously they renovated the stadium. You can tell from the outside. And but it's absolutely amazing because the official population in Green Bay is 100,007. This is the size of Sherbrooke or Trois-Rivières or wow. Lots of Ontario cities where they have junior hockey. And I know Milwaukee is 2 hours away, so there's probably a lot of people. I don't know how traffic can be on Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon on the highway going from Milwaukee to Green Bay, but it's. I think obviously the fact that there's only 8-9 games a year at the stadium on Sundays, I think it makes it easy for people to just travel and go to the games. But they obviously couldn't have a baseball team or a hockey team or any of this in Green Bay. It's very, very small. And they have a USHL team with a 3,000-seat arena, but that's about it. I mean, it's fascinating. Like I said, I knew it was small, but I didn't think it was that small.
That's impressive. Very impressive.
So I'm scouting players. Obviously, I can't really talk about the players that are eligible for the QMJHL draft, but there's one name that I want to mention. It's a guy who's eligible for the Ontario Hockey League draft. So that's why I'm going to mention him. His name is Aiden Kelly. Kelly. He wears number 66 for Detroit Little Caesars, one of the best midget teams in the States, owned by the pizza chain, the Illich family, who own the Red Wings and the Tigers. Aiden Kelly, number 66. What a player. So 2028 draft. I'm sure we'll talk about him in the next couple of years.
Wow, we're already there. We're talking
and
about
there's photos of Cole
draft.
Caulfield, by the way. Photos of Cole Caulfield all over the arena. Because he went to Wisconsin.
Right? Makes sense.
Yeah, he went to Wisconsin University. So, lots of Cole Caulfield fans around here.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, I hope you enjoy your stay. I hope the scouting is fruitful and good things come out of it. But we look forward to having you back in La Belle Province in due time. But until then, Snake, let's stay on the USA hockey topic for a moment, because we're going to talk about the NCAA tournament, which kicks off here March 26th. That's today, folks. 26th and 27th. We have the first round, and we have the bracket here on the screen for those listening in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Those watching on YouTube, well, you get to see it. Obviously, it's very small. We apologize for that. But really what you want to look at are the dates, right? So the regional semifinals start today, March 26th to 27th. And then the regional finals are March 28th to 29th. After that, the semifinals are April 9th, and the championship is April 11th. Now, the semifinals and the championship take place in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. Okay, where do you want to begin here? Teams of interest? I
want to go through matchup by matchup.
Yeah.
I would say bracket by bracket, in the sense that it's very, very hard to predict that kind of tournament because it's a one-off.
That's it.
So you lose, you're gone. And as folks watching on YouTube can see, all these teams have very good records, but they're not equal because of the conference they play in. So obviously, Michigan having a 29-7-1 record is stronger than Bentley having a 23-11-5 record, in the sense that if Bentley played in the conference, the Big Ten conference, they would have a losing record.
Right, that's it.
So, but that's the way it works. So there are 16 teams. Today, 4 of them are gone. Friday, 4 more are gone. Saturday, 2 more gone, and Sunday, 2 more gone. So, which leads us to the Frozen Four. And those days are important because by Monday, 12 of those 16 teams will be eliminated, and therefore guys will be allowed to sign NHL contracts.
Bingo. So
we'll get there in a second. Let's start with Michigan. Michael Hage, playing for Michigan. Will Horkoff, also Pittsburgh draft pick. Lots of good players. TJ Hughes, who will become a free agent. We talked about him on the last show. I think, again, I'm not going to make any predictions because it's too hard, but let's just say that there are some teams on paper that are better than others, and Michigan is much better than Bentley, so they should breeze through that game normally. Then, which leads us to the Minnesota Duluth Penn State game, which could be a lot closer. Personally, I think on paper, Minnesota Duluth has a better team than Penn State. So if they get through Penn State, Gavin McKenna's season's over.
Ooh.
And Gavin McKenna will not be able to play at the under-18 tournament because he's already 18 years old. He's a 2007 born player, which means that could Canada take him for the World Championships? They do sometimes have a young prospect being added to the lineup, but we shall see. So normally it could be the end of the season this weekend for Gavin McKenna. If they win and Michigan wins, they will face each other on Saturday, Michigan, Penn State. So obviously either Hage or McKenna at some point is gone.
Yeah, that's it. Neither will make it to the 4.
Yeah. Now, I think Michigan has a good chance of getting out of that bracket, which means that Michael Hage would be playing at least until April 9th. If he does, there's not much time for him to play for the Habs. Now, the question is, will they do with him what they did with Hagens in Boston? And we will talk about the Hagens situation later on on the show. What they did, basically what they could do with Hage, and that's one option. They sign him to an amateur tryout contract, and basically he starts with Laval. But anytime the Habs want to sign him to an NHL contract and burn a year and have him in the lineup, they can do it. Boston did it with Charlie McAvoy about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So let's say Hage signs, I'm just giving you an example, signs on the 12th. He could play for the Habs on the 14th of April, which is the last day of the season, or they can send him to Laval. He plays in Laval. And then at some point, the Habs, let's say, there's a couple of injuries or they're losing 3-0 in the series, whatever. They can call him up and basically have him sign an NHL contract, and then he plays for the Habs. If he plays that one game for the Habs on April 14th, let's say, he cannot go play in Laval.
No.
So that's the thing, because otherwise, if he signs his amateur tryout contract and he plays for Laval, then he's eligible for the playoffs in Laval. Now, the question is, would it be better for him to basically take a run in Laval, not burn 1 year of the contract, which is good or bad for the player, good or bad for the team? We never know. It all depends how the guy turns out. But maybe have a very long playoff run in Laval. Would it be better for him to play 10, 12, 15, 20 games in Laval, or just play one game for the Habs, then sit in this on the press box for the playoffs, or do like Demidov last year, who actually played? I think this is a decision that would be made easier to dissect if Michigan gets eliminated this weekend, because then they have like a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks to figure it out, just like Boston did with Hagens, who was eliminated last week. But if Michigan gets to the Final Four, much harder for the Habs, because then you're kind of stuck, and the player might say, hey, I don't care about the playoffs in Laval. I want to burn 1 year of my contract.
Yeah.
And we all know that there are advantages and disadvantages. The pros and cons are simple. If the guy burns 1 year of his contract, he only has 2 years before he signs his next contract. The good thing, the bad thing for the team, and the good thing for the player, is that if he hits very early, in his career, if he's like Lane Hudson, for instance, he's going to be earning a lot of money 1 year earlier. But if he doesn't do well, he only has 2 years to prove himself, and then his second contract would be a bridge contract, probably. Because a guy wouldn't want to sign for 7 years, because it'll be 7 years at the time. A guy wouldn't want to sign for 7 years for a lower rate in case he takes off in year 3 or year 4. Slavkovsky did it in a way. And Slavkovsky is going to be quite of a bargain.
Yeah.
Because he actually signed for, at the time, could have been a risk for the Habs. But the more we see him play, the more we think that he's going to be a bargain.
That's it.
And then, but if Hage doesn't burn his first year and goes to Laval, then he has 3 years left. And if he has 3 years left, what if in his third season he gets 75 points? Then he really hits the jackpot on year 4. So you see, it's not just to the player's advantage. It's not just good for the team. It all depends on the performance of the player. And agents usually try and ponder, the risk and reward. So it'll be interesting to see, but obviously any Habs fan who want to see Michael Hage soon would have to root against Michigan this weekend. But look, they could be gone, but they're still the best team in that division, let's call it.
They're contenders to win it all, Sneak.
Yeah, they are contenders.
They're really, really good.
And the thing is that there's a 2-week break between this week and the Frozen Four. It's not next week.
Mm-hmm.
So, which complicates the situation. So the second bracket, Western Michigan against Minnesota State. Again, Western Michigan is going to be the favorite. So next, there's Denver against Cornell, and there are two Habs prospects facing each other in net. Hopefully, because Kate Miller in Denver was injured. He's back now, but his backup played very well, so we don't know if he's going to play or not. But for sure, Alexis Cournoyer will play for Cornell. Alexis Cournoyer had a great season, great freshman season over there. Nevertheless, one of the two will be eliminated by Friday night, but none of them will sign with the Habs. They will return over to university next year.
That's it.
And there's no rush, absolutely no rush for them to be signed by the Habs. So normally Denver should win. They are one of the favorites to reach the Final Four. Then we have Michigan State against UConn. Michigan State has some interesting players, including goalie Trey Augustine, prospects for the Wings. And there's also Caden Lindstrom, who had a very, very disappointing season this year for Michigan State. So they should win also. They're favored. Dartmouth is playing Wisconsin. This one, I think Dartmouth has a better team. And they also have another Habs goalie, Emmett Croteau.
Yeah.
Not very well known by Habs fans. He's a little bit buried, behind Fowler and Cournoyer and Miller. But then even the Russian guy. So playing in the MHL. But look, I think he's a decent prospect, but he's far from the NHL, and he will have to be signed soon by the Habs in order to stay in the. So I don't know where they would stack up all their goalies. Maybe Trois-Rivières, maybe lend them to another team, because at some point the Habs are going to have a lot of goalies.
Yeah.
The last bracket has North Dakota, Merrimack. It seems like North Dakota is the better team, but you know what? Merrimack is also a pretty good team. So I think North Dakota will win. I hope North Dakota wins because they have interesting prospects over there. They have Keaton Verhoff, who's going to be a top 5 pick probably in the next draft. They have Cole Reshny for Calgary, first-round pick. Will Zellers, Boston. So I think it's an interesting team to follow. Yeah. Hopefully they win. And Providence against Quinnipiac. Again, a bit of a toss-up. I would like Providence to go through. They have Roger McQueen. They have Habs prospect Logan Sawyer that I really like. And so that would make for an interesting series between North Dakota, or not series, but game between North Dakota and Providence.
Absolutely.
So as you can see, lots of these good teams and players will be eliminated by Sunday night and even by Friday night. Let's see who signs. Let's see who doesn't. And let's see what they do with a guy like Verhoff, another one whose season will be over. But will he play at the under 18? He's a big guy. Could they try him for Canada at the World Championships?
Wow.
They do it sometimes. They do
it.
And so you never know. It's a chance to bring in one top prospect, see how he fares. NHL scouts love this because although you can't base your assessment on that kind of tournament where he plays against NHL guys, it gives you a feel for the readiness of the player, I would say.
Sure.
I remember Quinn Hughes going there a few years ago, and we could tell he was ready. So, that's going to be an interesting tournament. So what I'm rooting for, let's say, to see prospects, obviously North Dakota, Providence, and with I'd love to see Penn State also because of Gavin McKenna. The thing with Michigan is that, to me, there's more intrigue if Michigan gets eliminated now.
Yeah, that's
what do the Habs do with Michael Hage? It's more interesting, but look, it's not a matter, of rooting. But again, you would like to see Michael Hage on the big stage at the Frozen Four. So look,
and it's good for his development too.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, we have no control over this. Whatever we wish for doesn't matter. But I think either way, it's going to be interesting for Hage. Either he signs with the Habs or he reaches the Final Four. So interesting tournament overall. The NCAA is getting stronger and stronger, I would think, because of the influx of junior hockey players like the 19-year-olds like Roger McQueen, who would not have been there otherwise, and quite a few others, Cole Reshney. So it's interesting. But there's one bit of a note, because I talked to a lot of scouts and USA hockey people and everything. There are lots of rumors flying around as to the future of all this. We talked about the AHL 19-year-old rule.
Yeah.
But there's a rumor flying around that the USHL will require their players who get drafted at age 16 to sign a 3-year contract. Because otherwise there would be a $50,000 penalty if they want to transfer to a junior team. Obviously, the junior team would pay for it, but it would cost $50,000 for a junior team to get a USHL player. Because right now, the USHL is bleeding. They are bleeding. Another rumor that I heard, 65 USHL players will join the Ontario Hockey League next year.
Ooh.
That is a gigantic number. We're calling 3-4 players per team.
Not good.
So that's not good, because USHL has always been a junior A league. But in the last few years, they got Adam Fantilli, they got Macklin Celebrini, Michael Hage, lots of guys, Canadian guys that they attracted to play in the USHL because these guys wanted to go to college. But now they don't have to. They can just do like Gavin McKenna, play in junior hockey, then go to college whenever they feel like. So I think the big winner, I would think, is the NCAA.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And the Canadian junior leagues, they're probably going to get younger, but they're going to lose good 19-year-old players, whether it be in the AHL or the NCAA.
Yeah.
So, NCAA hockey is the big winner, I would say, but there's still lots in the air. The USHL is really scrambling right now because they don't want to become like the BCHL. The BCHL was a very good junior A league, but now they are being drained of their talent because kids are going to play in the WHL. So, anyway, things that we will discuss, but it's interesting to be in person over here because you talk to a lot of people. I spoke with Mark Hunter, general manager of the London Knights, and so they're really, really and US hockey, when they see Canadian scouts, they're not too happy. We're not getting free coffee, if you know what I mean. Yeah, NCAA scouts, they get the red carpet treatment.
Of course.
And it's not because we're Canadian. There's nothing political about it. It's more because we're taking their players
poaching
away.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're poaching. But they're poaching in our CHL too.
Hey, that's the reality of the situation.
Justin Poirier this year, who had a very good season in Maine. Yeah.
So that's a guy from Valleyfield. That's my area. So
yeah, exactly.
Shout out to him.
Exactly.
Have a great year.
So that's pretty much. So obviously next week we'll talk about the tournament. Who did well, who didn't. There will be upsets.
Oh yeah,
just like in basketball, there will be upsets. It's one game. Yeah,
that's it. Snake, last point on Hage, because I'm sure a lot of people would love to know more about that situation. Right? We explained and we showed the dates, and you did a great job explaining the options on the table. Now, for each scenario possible, what do you think the outcome will be? Let's say he's eliminated in the first round here. Do you think the Habs sign him, or does it, no matter what, he's going to Laval?
Well, I think the only thing that's pretty sure is that he doesn't go back to college next year.
No,
that's all we know.
Yeah.
If there are like 8-9 games left for the Habs, or 7-8, my guess is that he signs. Look, I'm just guessing. He goes the James Hagens way.
Yeah.
And he signs an amateur triant with Laval. And then the Habs decide what they do because it gives them option. However, Hage's agent and Hage himself have a say.
Exactly.
In this. So I'm just guessing. I think I'm just telling you what would be the best scenario for him. Because then you have room to decide. You have a few days to decide what you're going to do with him, just like Boston right now. Otherwise, if they could sign him right away and then decide to play in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, who knows? The Habs are in the playoff hunt, but let's say they have their spot assured, like 2-3 games before the end of the season, then you can just play Hage. Look, tough call, but it's not just the Habs call. It's very important to remind fans that it is not just the Habs deciding.
Exactly. So that's it. That's all we could do is guess and try to project, what the best course of action could be. But really, it'll be up to Hage's camp and, Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton and all that to decide. But odds are Michigan will go pretty far. And if that's the case, then, there's only going to be one game left of the regular season in the NHL. So might as well just go to Laval and get some reps there.
Unless he wants to burn 1 year of the contract by signing
the
right
playoffs.
Away.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and then he's eligible for the playoffs with the Habs, just like Demidov was. Interesting.
A lot of options.
Lots of options. It'll be lots to talk about in the next few weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. Big time. Now
it's good for us. It's good for us.
Oh yeah. We've got the content. We're happy. Keep bringing it on. And hey, one player who's been bringing us the content, and we've mentioned him already in the show, is James Hagens of the Boston Bruins, or should I say the Providence Bruins?
Yes.
Whose season with the Boston College ended recently. And there was a lot of, I guess, not turmoil per se, but discussions among the fan base saying, oh, he should go to Boston. No, he should go to Providence. And then what does James want to do? What do the Bruins want to do? Well, they opted the Providence route, but that doesn't mean he can't play with the Boston Bruins at some point this season. So, Snake, let's dissect this situation here, break it all down for the people interested. And for Bruins fans who may be a little confused.
Well, it's a very similar situation to what Hage is going through, except that Hagen's team was eliminated last week. And there were insiders in Boston who were telling us that the reason why Hagens didn't sign right away is because Boston wanted to send him to the American Hockey League, and he probably didn't want to. But they did it with Charlie McAvoy years ago, and that's probably what convinced Hagens and his reps to go along, because there's still lots of time for Hagens to be ready, in the sense that Boston is fighting for a playoff spot.
Exactly.
They might not make it. They lost against Toronto the other night. That was a tough loss, but they won last night. So I think what happens with Hagens, if he plays well in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 games, and they feel that he can help them, because you don't want to bench a guy who's playing well just to play one kid.
Of course.
But if there's an injury, if he plays so well that he can be better than any guy on their roster, I think they are going to bring him up and then see what happens. I really think they're open to it. I don't think it's because they don't want to burn 1 year of the contract. It's just they don't want to throw a guy like Hagens to the Wolves in a playoff fight, and then what if he makes mistakes? What if he doesn't contribute? Then they will be blamed. Why did you play Hagens? Why did you take out of the lineup a guy who had been playing all year? You can't really do that. So you're waiting there for injuries, or really someone underperforming big time.
Yeah.
But they had the advantage of having Hagens in March, which is different from Hage's situation because it'll be closer to the end of the season. Now, he had 25 shifts last night. I watched most of them. He played about 16 minutes. And what I saw is a guy who's really involved in the game. He's very engaged. He's quick. He was playing on the wing, by the way. He was playing left wing. He was not playing center. And look, it's a debut. We'll monitor him in the next few weeks and report on his on how he's doing. But he didn't look out of place. That's my comment. I saw about half of his shifts, and he didn't look out of place.
No, that's it. Yeah. So listen, I would be surprised if he did. That's a heck of a hockey player right there. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some action sorry, in Boston pretty soon. Really, he's a heck of a player. Snake, before we get to some NHL debuts that took place, there is one thing that we forgot to discuss prior to the show, but I wanted to bring it up. The Laval Rocket did sign someone. They signed Josh Nadeau, who played for the University of Maine. He had 30 points in 30 games this season. He is the older brother of Bradley Nadeau, the prospect for the Carolina Hurricanes. So he is signed to a full-time contract with the Laval Rocket. Right now it's an ATO, but next season turns into a full-time contract one way with the Rocket. What do we think of this one? He is undersized, 5'8", 165 pounds. He's a left wing, right shot, 22 years old.
Well, Laurent Dauphin's injured right now, so I think they needed an offensive player to fill out the roster. But also, Nadeau is quite experienced. He's a 22-year-old guy. He played 3 years in Maine. He was playing on the same team as Justin Poirier this week. This guy at age 19 had a pretty good season in the BCHL. He had 110
points. An
understatement. Yeah, just like his brother. And he had 2 points per game in the playoffs. I think this is a typical American Hockey League sized skill player. So I think it's an excellent signing for the Rocket. I think he will fit in well. Will he become one of the top veterans, the way Belzile and Dauphin have become? I don't know. Does he have a chance at making the NHL? I think he would have to really, really, really perform extremely well in Laval. And I'm talking, almost winning the scoring championship for him to be to be called up. Well, not even called up, but signed to an NHL team contract. Because just to remind listeners, when you sign a Laval Rocket contract, if another team likes you so much and they want to sign you to an NHL contract, they can poach your team and get Nadeau. So let's say the Buffalo Sabres, they see that Nadeau is doing very well in the playoffs with Laval. Anytime they can call his agent and say, we're signing him to an NHL contract. So probably would be offered to the Habs first. That's normal. That would be normal, but it's happened before that players. So he doesn't really belong to the Habs. He belongs to the Rocket.
Right.
And they cannot prevent him from improving his situation.
Yeah. So it's worth noting. But you mentioned in the BCHL with the Penticton Vs, I mean, he won back-to-back championships with them in 22 and 23. And in 23, I mean, he had 110 points in 54 games that year. 35 points in 17 playoff games. So, the offensive potential is very much there. Quite a talented player. So, should be
but as you know, small guys have to be exceptional.
That's it. We think of Sean Farrell, for example, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sean Farrell, I think, is
exceptional offensive talent, but again,
but not enough. To be in the NHL? Not enough. You have to be exceptional to make it when you're 5'8", 165 pounds.
That's it.
And Nadeau, I think, is very good, but he's not there. He's not. I don't know, Victor Arvidsson or some kind of smallish player like that too. Cole Caulfield, yeah.
I mean, no one is Cole Caulfield.
No one is Cole Caulfield.
The best goal scorer in the NHL. So, anyways, Snake, a few NHL debuts worth mentioning. Let's start in Chicago with the third overall pick of the most recent draft. Anton Frondell finished the game with an assist, a win for the Blackhawks. What did you think of his first game and the potential that he could have on the Blackhawks?
Well, the highlight that was shown was his pass to Ilya Mikheyev for his breakaway goal. And that was a very nice pass, very subtle. Because sometimes these guys, like Frondell, they're so skilled, they have such great vision that it seems like a nothing pass, but really it was a breakaway pass. So other than that, he played center with Connor Bedard on the left. Connor Bedard on left wing. Now, I think he played a very good game. I watched his shifts. He played a very, very good game, played about 16 minutes. He kept his feet moving all the time. I love this about a player. I don't like static players because then when something happens, well, you're a fraction of a second behind everybody else. So the guy is always circling around. He was keeping his position, pretty much going up and down the middle. I think he was trying to play a responsible game, but it didn't touch the puck like a million times. But I do think that is very promising. I don't think he's going to go to the American Hockey League next year. I think he's an NHL player right now, especially with Chicago needing guys like him. Now, that's the question. And that's the interesting thing about the fact that he played center and Bedard was on his left. Obviously, they probably wanted to set him up. So Chicago doesn't have a lot of good offensive players. So probably by setting him up with Bedard, the idea was to make his debut a little bit easier, playing with a star. But the question is, now, depending on who the Hawks draft this year, will Bedard stay on the wing? Or will they want to have a 1-2 punch with Frondell and Bedard, or Bedard and Frondell? Because if it clicks between those two, Connor Bedard, I was never sold on the idea that he could be a full-time NHL center his entire career.
Yeah,
I always saw a winger in this guy. I always saw a winger. He's kind of on the small side, and usually undersized centermen don't have like great success. They can be good, but a guy like Bedard probably could be a megastar winger.
Yeah.
Whereas at center, we don't know what he's going to become. But the Hawks are going to be drafting probably top 5. They have a lot of young defensemen. None of them is like a bona fide, guaranteed superstar. There's no Matthew Schaefer. There's no Quinn Hughes. There's no Hudson. There's no Werenski.
No.
But that's the dilemma. Most of the good players available in the top 5, 6, 7 are defensemen. So do you go for need, or do you go for the best player available who could eventually, if a defenseman, become your top guy? Correct. Let's say, I don't know, Chase Reed. Let's take him, for example. We're going to talk about all these guys in the next few weeks as the draft approaches. But let's say Chase Reed. Chase Reed is a tremendous offensive talent. I think he could be a number 1 guy in the NHL. Do they draft him? But then they're still stuck with the fact that up front, they basically only have Frondell, Bedard. They have Frank Nazar. I like Nick Lardis. I think who's coming along. I like this guy, 3rd-round pick. But again, it's like you need more than that.
For sure.
Yeah. But are they going to? Would they pass on an Ivar Stenberg to take a Chase Reed? And that's going to be a dilemma, because you need offense now. It can't just be the guys that I mentioned. But at the same time, I think although they have a decent young defensive group, are these guys good enough? Do you get your number 1 defenseman?
Yeah, we're going to have a better idea of all that once the season's over and we have the draft lottery results and the order of selection. But they're going to have a big dilemma on their hands, potentially. Maybe, the draft sets out and all that's left really are defensemen, and they kind of just have to take a defenseman.
Yeah, let's say they draft number 3, and Stenberg and McKenna are gone. Then I guess you have no choice.
You go defenseman. There's no choice. Yeah,
and you delay 1 year.
That's it. The gap,
the acquisition of another forward. Yeah,
the gap for forwards after McKenna and Stenberg. Look, there's some really good forwards in this draft, but the gap is filled with really, really good defensemen. So again, you're in a tough position here, but it's going to be really interesting to see how the Blackhawks kind of navigate that situation. But hey, good for Frondell. I'm rooting for the kid. He's a heck of a talent, and you know what? If Bedard can get some help, I mean, poor guy.
That would be great
on an island.
So he can start putting up these 100-point seasons.
Exactly.
Because I think he is capable of putting up 100-point seasons. He has really improved over the last couple of years.
And I'm with you on the fact that he's a winger. I'm with you there. I think it's not the fact that he's not a center. It's the fact that I think he'd be better as a winger.
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
He could play center. He'd be good at center. He'd be better on the wing with an actual pure center, like potentially Anton Frondell. So that could be a really interesting dynamic duo for the future in Chicago. Snake, let's turn over to Ottawa for a second, because defenseman Carter Yakemchuk made his, I guess, forced NHL debut, because the Ottawa Senators blue line is just decimated at the moment.
Yeah.
Sanderson's out, Shabbat's out, Jensen's out. I think they lost someone else too. So they had to recall Jorian Donovan as well.
Yeah.
And Carter Yakemchuk, who made his debut, a goal and an assist. He's got Sens fans quite happy right now. Is this a mirage, or is this like the real deal?
Well, I don't see it as a mirage, because he was kind of a controversial high pick in the sense that a lot of people thought that he would go 10th or 11th or 12th, and he got there earlier. I had him number 6. Mm-hmm. To me, he was one of the top defensemen in front of a guy like Zeke Bouillon. I had him in front of some of the other guys that were Zane Parekh. I think I only had I know I had Sam Dickinson in front of him, but I don't think I had many more in front of him. Well, the reason why I like Yakemchuk is not only because of his build. Yes, he does have size and a great shot, but I just think that he has a presence on the ice, and he's a smart offensive defenseman who, look, and he's big. He carries the puck, and you see this train coming to you. Now, the reason why he was a controversial pick at where he was selected, I think number 6 or 7th.
Yeah,
is the problem is that it's his foot speed. He seems sometimes like he seems a little bit caught in cement sometimes, and that was the concern with a lot of scouts and draft analysts at the time. Can you overcome this? I don't know if they can overcome this, but he can overcome this. But I do think that his other qualities will be sufficient to compensate for the lack of foot speed. Yeah. Now, he only played 12 minutes the other night. They sheltered him quite a bit. I thought he had a very good game, but he was also sheltered. Let's see what happens. They're probably going to send him back to Belleville to finish the season, because that was the plan. But next year in training camp, he could battle for a spot. And I know he had supposedly had a very good training camp this year. But they made the right decision by sending him down, because he needs to get used to the pace of play in the NHL. Because that's the only question mark. It's a pace of play, it's foot speed, but the rest is everything else he does have.
I've also kind of heard some question marks in regarding his decision making in his own zone. Sometimes defensively, I heard comparisons to Evan Bouchard. Now Bouchard is maybe more of a risk in that sense, like high danger plays all the time, right? But if Yakemchuk can be sort of an Evan Bouchard paired with a Jake Sanderson, I mean that's
the thing, because the Oilers cannot pair Bouchard with a Sanderson, and that's the problem. I'm not a big fan of Evan Bouchard at all, because I think he makes too many mistakes, and we'll never really know how good he is offensively, because he does play, with McDavid, Draisaitl, and he racks up points on the power play. So Evan Bouchard, I think we know better what kind of player he is if he played, let's say, in Nashville. But like I said, I've never been a big fan of Bouchard. I know he has offensive skills. I know he's very good for poolers, because he does rack up points.
Leading point getter for defensemen this year.
Yeah. But I don't know if he would be an obvious choice if I built a team.
No, that's it. So, well, the jury is out still on Carter Yakemchuk, but hey, encouraging debut for him. I think Seds fans should be pretty happy about that. Snake, anything else to add before we...
Well, very quickly, another guy who made his debut in the American Hockey League. He's played 3 games already. Cole Yzerman with the Islanders.
Correct.
You see, that's another Hagens type of case where he was sent to the American Hockey League right away. I don't think he's ready for the NHL either. I think Hagens and Hage are more NHL ready than Cole Yzerman is, but still, that was the right decision. He's going to be, he went to Bridgeport, probably going to play in Hamilton next year because Bridgeport is moving to Hamilton. This guy, top goal scorer, but not much else in his game. So we'll see what happens. He could fill a need at some point, maybe become for Habs fans who remember Michael Ryder. He was a 30-goal scorer, but not much else. So sometimes, look, you might need these guys as long as the rest of your team is well-rounded. It's okay to have one guy like this. Yzerman was very much of a disappointment considering that when he was 16, he and James Hagens were supposed to go 1 and 2 in the draft in 2025. But then, Matthew Schaefer appeared and Michael Misa appeared and, all these guys appeared. Actually, Yzerman would have been 24. Drafted in 24 because he was younger.
I know what you meant.
But you know what I mean. They were
1
and 1 or 1 and 2 exactly. Sorry about that. Anyway, but Yzerman went down to number 20, just one spot before Hage. So that's we'll talk about him. I love following these guys in March and April, because it's the prelude to next season, and it's a trust the process show.
Exactly.
So we'll have reports on these guys as they gather more games under their belt, and I'm going to be watching them and give fans, tidbits about how they're doing.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on these guys and every other player who joins their NHL or AHL team in the coming week as we follow along the NCAA Frozen Four tournament, which kicks off today, March 26th. So keep an eye on that. We got you covered here at Trust the Process. We're back again on Monday and again on Thursday to break it all down. But Snake, this show is not done just yet, okay? We still got some stuff to cover. Before we do that, however, I think it's a great opportunity for me to tell all of our listeners and viewers about our partners at the Sick Podcast who make this show possible. And they've been with us since the very beginning. We want to thank Cheapest T-Shirts. If you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. They're proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. Cheapesttshirts.ca is the go-to source for teams, businesses, events, apparel printing companies, resellers, and it's also perfect for the individual shopper who just wants the best deals on everyday apparel. Plus, you can enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And of course, big shout out to our friends at Betway, where you can get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Now, the offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. With that, Snake, it's time to go digging in the mailbag. One great question in the queue today, and this one is coming from Rick Woods. Posted to you several months ago that Dobes could be as good, if not better, than Jacob Fowler. Since the Habs added goalie coach Marco Marciano in January, Dobes' stats are now a .917 save percentage with a .252 goals against and a .9-3-1 record. He's regaining his NCAA confidence again. Question: what is it that some players lose from the minors to the AHL, OHL, to the pros in the abilities that made him noticed? Is it the pressure? Thoughts they've achieved success? Is it coasting? Lastly, what is the percentage of those drafted that become better or worse than expected after they're drafted? As always, great podcast. Dobes starts the playoffs, as did Dryden. Thank you, Rick, for the question. Snake?
Yeah, I love that question. Great scouting question. It's going to be very hard for me, Rick, to give you an exact percentage, but I can give you my thought process. Usually when you make predictions about players pre-draft, when they're in junior hockey, and you're trying to project what they're going to be at their peak in the NHL, or if they don't make the NHL, let's say, you're going to be wrong almost like 100, at least 90% of the times.
Yeah.
But it depends on the range. It depends on how lenient you are with your prediction. So let's say I see a guy in junior hockey and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a 30-goal scorer who's going to play on the wing. Let's say he's a centerman who's going to play on the wing. And he's going to get maybe 60 points a year. And he'll be a good playoff contributor. Let's say that's my assessment. Well, the guy might score 30 goals, but he might remain at center. Or he might not be a good playoff contributor. So everything you said, none of it is really going to happen. Not all of it is going to happen. But if at the top you're telling yourself, well, I see a 30-goal scorer, and he does score 30 goals, then your assessment was right. So based on that second set of criteria, I would say you're probably going to be right about 25% of the time on a player. 75% of the time, you're going to be wrong. Now, why are you going to be wrong? Well, like you mentioned, Rick, we often see that players lose their abilities. Why do they lose their abilities? Because there are qualities that a junior player has sometimes that are not translatable to the NHL. Now, how can you see this? Just based on experience. You might see players in the past, okay, let's say this guy, he has a great slap shot. And it gets in junior hockey. Well, chances are your great slap shot is not going to get in as much in the NHL. So it's not a translatable quality. So you have to look for something else in the player. So you're thinking, why did the guy score 40 goals in junior hockey? Because of the way he scored his goals. And I call it junior hockey goals. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if a guy has a great wrist shot, is not afraid to go in the slot, in the high-end areas, high-traffic areas, there's a good chance that he'll make it in the NHL. His quality his skill would translate well in the NHL. So that's one example. Another thing is, you see a great dangler, a guy who's going to go up and down the ice, like basically coast to coast, constantly. You're not going to be able to do that all the time in the NHL.
No.
So yes, it probably shows that you're a great skater. It probably shows that you have good hands, but you have to develop other aspects of your game to become a full-time, full-fledged NHLer. So that's another example. So that's why another thing is that is very important to consider. A lot of fans, they watch the World Juniors, and where there's a lot of 19-year-old players, and they get very, very excited about some picks.
Yeah.
The problem is these guys are 19-year-olds, and when you're a 19-year-old player, you're an old junior player, if I may say. Obviously you're going to be dominant. Right now, I'm watching tournaments where 15-year-old players are playing against other 15-year-old players. So I told a fellow scout yesterday, I said, okay, it's all very nice, but I prefer seeing these guys when they play for their high school where there's 16, 17, 18-year-old players on the team they're playing against. It's like the U18 tournament. The U18 tournament coming up in April.
Yeah.
I mean, scouts flock to this tournament. And very often when you read the draft analysts on the web, they constantly refer to the U18. Oh, he was great at the U18. He was great. Well, guess what? They're all 17 years old. I want to see a 17-year-old play against older players. I want to see them in their natural habitat, which is the CHL or the NCAA or the USHL or Europe, whichever. So it's kind of impressive. Let's say when you were talking about Frondell. Frondell was playing pro this year in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Swedish league is probably look. Some people say it's like the American Hockey League. I say it's a notch below, but it's still a pro league.
Exactly.
The guy Tim Stutzler was playing in Germany, very weak league, but it was still a pro league where guys were 24, 25, 26. So that's a little parenthesis I want to make just to explain that sometimes we see skills that players have when they're 19. Did their skills show when they were 17? Maybe not. And that would explain why some 100-point scorers in junior hockey at age 19, they bomb when they become pros.
Exactly.
So also, like Rick mentioned, there's a matter of commitment. Are they willing to do whatever it takes to become a pro? Because you have to develop a very strict work ethic to be an NHL player. You can't just not train or think that it's going to be as easy as when you were a junior player.
Unless you're just an extraordinary talent. But even then, we're far from the days where they were eating hot dogs between periods and smoking cigarettes. Like
smoking cigarettes, yeah.
You got to be.
And that's not a myth, by the way. It was a true story.
Oh yeah,
that's not a myth. That Mike Bossy, Guy Lafleur, they were chain smokers.
Yeah,
Bossy said it. When he announced his cancer diagnosis, he said, "Look, I was smoking between periods."
The only player who can eat Subway and hot Cheetos between games and still play is Alex Ovechkin. Like
Phil Kessel also. Phil Kessel.
Yeah, Phil was drinking.
Yeah, but you know what? Phil Kessel would have been better.
Because Imagine Phil Kessel with proper training and conditioning. He would have been a superstar.
But that was his fault. That was his fault because at the time, he's not a player from yesteryear. He's a contemporary, modern player. Yeah. So it was really his fault because I remember in 2005, he was like a few months younger than Sidney Crosby, and there were folks talking about him as being in 2006 the next Crosby. And he didn't become the next Crosby. He won 2 cups. He scored lots of goals. He has doesn't he have an NHL record of the most consecutive? The Iron Man, which Nick Suzuki will pass one day. I think Brent Burns has a chance now, but I think Nick Suzuki will pass them all. But he's the Iron Man. But that's kind of ironic considering how out of shape he was. But on the ice, he was always avoiding contact, but he was a great goal scorer. So, like you say, there are some guys who can get away with it. He made millions of dollars. But he could have been a megastar. I do think so.
Imagine that.
So I don't know if I answered Rick's question well.
Well, we didn't talk about the goalie aspect of it all, Snake, because we project these players, but goalies, we know it's well known now that goalies are next to impossible to project unless you're just completely dominant every level of your development. It's impossible.
Yeah, and that's why less goalies are picked in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
No goalies are being picked in the top 10 anymore. Even Askarov a few years ago was picked 11th.
Yeah.
25 years ago, goalies were the flavor of the month.
Rick DiPietro,
Kari Lehkonen, Carey Price turned out very well, but I think you get the point. Because even Vasilevsky a few years later was chosen 19th. I think Vasilevsky 10 years before would have been picked number 1 or number 2, especially 2012 was a weak draft. So, So with goalies, I think you have to look at their technique. You have to look at their abilities, but you're really throwing darts. And that's why I always say you draft for talent and you draft goalies. Because
quantity.
Yes, the role players are very, very important. They are very important, but they are very hard to identify in junior hockey. It's very hard to say, oh, this guy is the next Nick Paul. This guy is the next, Philippe Danault or guys like that. Because you take a guy like Danault, for instance, and that I have Rick's question in mind. Philippe Danault was a late first-round pick, which means that he was not a top offensive star, but he was still a very, very good offensive player. In the NHL, he adjusted his game and made a lot of money by being one of the top defensive centermen in the league. So I don't think he lost his skills. It's not just that his offensive skills were not good enough for him to be, a great top six player. I know he was a top six player for a while for the Habs, but even in his best days, if the Habs had today's roster today, then it was not a top six guy. But he became a very, very, very good player by adapting. Because just to conclude on this, there are players who don't want to adapt.
No.
I was a goal scorer since, whatever caliber of play you started playing in. That's 5 or 6 or 7. I'm a goal scorer. But these guys, they have to realize that they've always been the best player on their team. But once they get to the American Hockey League or the National Hockey League, well, there might be 10, 12 guys better than them. And it's kind of a shock. And that's why you have to adapt. And you have to, the coaches have to find a role for you and adapt that role to your skill set. So players, they don't necessarily lose their skill set. It's just that there are guys with better skill sets.
Exactly.
Because not every player is going to be a top six player. Look, you even at the Olympics, why did they only play the McDavid line in the overtime pretty much? And we're talking 20 of the best players in the 12 or 13 of the best forwards in the world. But they kept going back to McDavid and the McDavid line. And he made other players look like very, okay. And these guys scored 80, 90 points a year in the NHL. But come Olympic time, that's another level where you see the gap between the top guys and the stars. Basically, the mega stars and the stars. So I hope I answered the question well.
That's it. And to Rick's point, I mean, Dobes was picked in the 5th round. Fowler was picked in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Right? Dustin Wolf, 7th round pick. So the goalies, like, again,
I don't care when goalies are picked. I really don't care.
No.
Alexis Cournoyer and all these guys we talked about, Emmett Croteau and who's the other guy, Quentin Miller. I don't care where they were picked.
No, it's the body of work, really.
Yeah, it's the body of work. Go to college, go to minor leagues, perform, and one day you'll have a shot at the NHL. Because you know what? The NHL does need goalies because they don't have 64 good goalies.
No, that's it.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Pick the goalies.
Yeah.
Snake, anything else to add before we wrap this
up? I'm running to the arena now for a marathon of 4 games.
Excellent. Well, hey, there's worse days to spend. There's worse things to do to spend your day. So enjoy your time, Snake. Hopefully it all goes well and you watch some good hockey. We will be back on Monday to talk Habs prospects, maybe a little Michael Hage, depending on how things go for Michigan. Time will tell, but hopefully you'll be there tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hype up the show, to tell YouTube to send it to other people as well. We want to grow this community. We want to grow this channel. We're having so much fun doing this show, and we want to keep doing it for a long time. Snake, you want to chime in?
Yeah, do you realize, Shayne, that there might be players that I see today that we'll talk about on Trust the Process in 2-3 years?
How exciting is that? Keep your notes, man.
I saw Jack Eichel in 2012.
Wow.
Basically in a barn.
Yeah.
The type of arena where it's -20 outside, but you're more comfortable going outside in between periods than staying in the arena because it's so humid. And, it smells whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I saw Jack Eichel. He was playing at the time with Connor Garland.
Wow.
So who knows who I'm seeing today? Who knows?
Hey, well, listen, keep your notes. And folks, subscribe, stay tuned, because you're going to see full circle moments on this show. All right. It's going to be very fun. The longer we do this, the more we're going to have these special moments. So I'm very excited. Snake, enjoy your time. Thank you all for tuning in. He is Simon the Snake Boisvert. I'm producer Shayne. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. We'll see you Monday. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.